Thank you guys for being on this early. I know that was a challenge for you, but we had some questions. Some of you had questions on Seamless. We kind of need to review it again. And then we are recording the session, so if you need to go back and look at it, you can. And then I think there's some other sessions scheduled for later that they're doing in general that you can do on your own time. All right, but if you have questions, if you'll type your question in the chat box as we go along, and then Brent will answer your questions.
Okay.
So at this point, he'll mute everybody, and then if you have a question, though, just put it in the chat box. All righty. All right, Brent.
All right, thank you, Miosha. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. Hey, everybody, my name is Brett Pulowski. I'm with the National Center for College and Career Transitions. We're the ones who developed Seamless. I'm actually the primary developer of the system, so happy to be here with you today. I know that Seamless is brand new to everybody. We just launched the service earlier this year. So I'll go ahead and tell you briefly what Seamless is and why it's worth using. Seamless is basically a tool to manage work-based learning and advisory boards. And there's a few things that it can do for you. First of all, it makes it easier to manage your work-based learning activities. It allows you to have all of your information in one place, all of your documents, all of your notes. It allows you to invite partners to your activities so that they get all the information they need before the activity. It allows you to sort of track everything that you're doing around work-based learning. So it's all in one place, should be much easier to manage. It makes it easier to work with partners because every time you send out an invitation, your partners get all the information about an activity. So they know exactly what it is they're signing up for. They can confirm through the system so you know they're coming. Allows you to go back like at the end of the year to see everything a partner has done with you, which is a great way to start the new year. It allows you to track student experiences. So if you're attaching students to all these work-based learning activities in the system, at the end of the year, you can go see that, John Smith has participated in these 5 work-based learning activities. So you get a real historical record of everything they've done in terms of work-based learning. And the last major benefit is it allows you to manage your advisory boards. For those of you who run advisory boards, in my experience, materials tend to be all over the place. They can be hard to find. When it's time to submit documents for state audits or Perkins reporting or something like that, you're scrambling looking for minutes and sign-in sheets and stuff like that. Everything is in one place here. So just a few of the reasons to use Seamless. So I hope all of you can see my screen. This is sort of the public website for Seamless. It's seamlesswbl.com. I believe you all got the direct link to sign in, but if you don't have that, you can just go to this website, seamlesswbl.com, and click the sign in button. All right. So you all are educators. So you're going to drop down to the educator window. And your email address is going to be your login. We set as the default the word seamless, so capital SEAMLESS as your password. You can change the password once you're in the system, but that's sort of what we set up as the default for everyone. Oh, sorry, I'm logged in as a different person. I'm just going to switch to the educator console. So this is what you'll see. And of course, this is my account, so I've got information everywhere. I know that a lot of you are going to be going into a blank system, so you don't have any data anywhere on your employers or activities or your students or anything like that. But you will, once you start to enter information, you'll be able to see how all of this works, and that's what we'll do here. So just to give you a quick tour of the home page of the site, you can see that we've got key metrics across the top here, number of completed work-based learning activities, number of upcoming activities, how many advisory boards you work with, how many active partners you have, and those active partners are people who are actually doing work-based learning. It's not your whole partner list. You've got an activities calendar, so it's a little pop-up calendar that plots all of your work-based learning activities. Everything is color-coded, so co-op experiences are in blue, advisory board meetings are in yellow, guest speaking is red, company tours are in green, and so on. A common question we get is, can I sync this to my own calendar? We're working on that. We should have a solution for that in a couple months. But right now, we cannot sync this to your own personal calendar, but we'll fix that sometime soon. You will see a list of the partners that you've added. And again, when you guys log in for the first time, you won't have anything here, but once you start to add partners, you'll start to see this get populated. And looking down the left-hand navigation, you see the employer search, which is an area to search for new partners. And we'll go through each of these sections shortly. My Partners, which is where you manage your own personal list of employer partners. Partner Activities, which is where you set up all of your work-based learning activities, everything from guest speakers to apprenticeships. We have Resources, which are just we have resources, which are basically templates for advisory boards and work-based learning. So if you're looking for a ready-made tip for guest speakers, you'll find one here. If you're looking for bylaws for an advisory board, you'll find templates here. Basically a whole library of templates for you to use. We have a place for advisory boards, which is where you set up and manage all of your advisory boards. We have a place for your student records. We have tags, and tags, we'll look at this shortly, but tags are basically, well, first of all, they're optional. You don't have to use them, but they're a time saver because they're basically groups of students. So your FFA chapter can have a tag, and you can group all the students in FFA in that tag and work with them as a group. Your freshman academy class, your auto tech class, you can basically group students in tags. So rather than putting 30 students in an activity, you just put in one tag. I'll show you how that works in a minute. We have a place to run reports on your work-based learning activities, and we'll also look at those. And finally, the knowledge base, we'll take a quick look at that, sort of last things first. This is where you'll find the user guide. So if you do not have a copy of the educator user guide for Seamless, that's where you'll find it here. And we have FAQs, and we're going to keep adding FAQs and start adding some training materials on partnership development, stuff like that. So we'll start, and again, I know you guys don't have data yet, so we'll just look at my account here. We'll start with the employer search. Oh, here we go. Just actually had a question. So I'll probably take the questions in sections because the question that came up is if you have students who go 3 or more days a week, do you have to enter each day they are on site? No, you can do multi-day activities, and we'll see what that looks like once we get to the work-based learning activities. So we'll just sort of go down the list, and I know you guys don't have data in a lot of these areas yet, but you will sometime soon. So we'll look at the employer search. An employer search is a place for you to search for new partners, people you're not working with yet. And basically, these are employers who your school or district administrators will enter into the system, businesses and other employers who are looking to work with students and educators and don't have those relationships. So this is where you'll search for new partners. One thing I'll show you, we're looking at sort of a list view in Seamless, and this is going to be true throughout the system. You see that the columns have little up and down arrows. You can sort all the columns by clicking on those. You've got multiple search options here. So if I'm just looking for businesses, maybe in the architecture construction cluster, I can search for those. If I'm looking for architecture construction businesses that offer, let's say, site visits, I can search for those. So you can do multiple searches at the same time. So we'll go into this, and again, you guys don't have data here yet, but your administrators at some point, I imagine, will set up information. And you can see you've got a lot of information on the employer. You see that got the company name, their industry sector, contact information. If they have a document to review, maybe the company brochure, you'll find that here. Got the primary contact for work-based learning, description of the company, and then the list of opportunities, the things that this employer has said that they're willing to do. So you see they're willing to be a guest speaker, and here's what they can talk about. They're willing to offer job shadow experiences, and here's what that looks like. So you see a lot of information about what it is that they are willing to do. And again, you guys don't have listings there yet, but I would imagine at some point you will. If you search this company up and you say, yeah, I want people to come in and talk about careers in the industry, you reach out to Casey Stiegel, you set up a time to work together, that's when you decide to move this employer to your own personal list of partners. And that's what this link is here, copy to my partner area. And that's the next thing we'll look at, which is where you manage your own personal list of partners. Now, these are companies that you will need to enter yourself. You can either do that one at a time, or you can do that, like if you've got a whole list of partners in an Excel spreadsheet, you can import those. There's a way to do that. So you don't have to type, 10 people, 20, 30, different employers. You can just, if you've got them in Excel, you can import them. So we'll start by looking at how to add a partner. Just click the Add Partner button. And you'll see that there are two different kinds of fields. Some are orange. They got this orange border like this, and some are gray. The orange fields are required fields. You can't save this until you've entered something there. The gray fields are optional. So, maybe I know the company name, but I don't know their address or their phone number. You're fine. You can just put the company name. You can come back and fill in the contact information later. You do have to set the partner status. You can make them active or inactive or a prospect, somebody you've not worked with yet. You can also send them an invitation to log into the system. So employers have their own portal. Like we're looking at the educator portal here. Employers have a portal too, so they can log in. And for example, if you've invited them to an activity, they can log in and see the activity. You don't have to invite them to the portal. They don't have to do that. But if you want them to be able to log in and see information, if you want them to log in and be able to post documents to the work-based learning activities, you do want to invite them. So you can check that box or not, it's optional. And so we'll just thinking about, okay, we'll just create a fake company here. And I'm terrible at coming up with fake information on the fly, but we'll see what we can do. Okay. And we'll just leave some as blank. I don't know their address. I will say that they're active. I don't want to send them login information yet. To add people, you can have multiple employees at a company. You just click the Add button. And they're in. So we can save that company. And let's see, we'll just see what that looks like. So here, once I've added the company, this is what it looks like for a saved record. I can see I've got the information here. I've got the contacts. I can add additional people if I want, add as many people as I want. If you want to delete these records, there's a little trash can right there. You just clear those out. And you'll see here at the bottom of the page, two buttons. Because even though your administrators can run reports on work-based learning that'll show the employer, they don't show any other information, and your fellow educators cannot see your information. So this is mostly private information for you to work with. If you want to share this with other educators, say that You've got somebody else in your program, you want them to be able to reach out and track activity and stuff like that. There's a share with educators button. So if I want to share Smith Industries with another teacher in the building, I click share with educators, and all I got to do is click into this field. There's a list of all the educators with an account at my school. So I just click who I want to be able to see this record and share it with them. This will show up in their own partners area, and they'll get an email saying, Brett Pulowski has shared Smith Industries with you. Please go look in your My Partners area to see information on this employer. If I want this posted to that employer search area, if I want every educator in the building to be able to search for this employer, I can click the Post to School-wide Employer Search area, and everyone will have access to this employer. Again, by default, this is your own information. No one else can see it. But if you want to share it, you have the tools. And we're going to go into one of the other records here that I've got set up, just so you can see what a fully set up record looks like. All right, so this is one of my companies, Plum Good, and it's fully set up. You can see we actually have two tabs at the top with partner details and the list of partnership activities. So as I look at partner details, I can see all the information we just saw previously. And I will get to I see some questions starting to show up in the chat, and we will get to those in just a minute. Let me just show you a couple other features here. But you can see we have multiple people at the company. These two tabs, partner details and list of partnership activities. So I see the partner details, it's what we saw already. If I click on the list of partnership activities, I can see all the work-based earning activities that this company has been invited to, or that they're involved in, past, present, future. I can see the activity name, the type of activity, the date and time. Maybe I just want to sort by date and time, and the status of the activity. We'll look at those in a few minutes, but just know that you can get there from here. If I go back to the partner details, I scroll down, and I want to look at one of the individuals. So I want to see Emily Moore. I want to see what she personally is involved with. So I click on her name. You see it's all clickable. So I get her personal page. I can see, first of all, I can change her contact information. I can see her advisory board service, the boards that she serves on, including her role and her term and the status of the board. I can add any notes I want on her. And if I wanted to invite her to log in, there's an invite button down here. And she'll get an email with her login information, and she'll be able to see the activities that you have invited her to. So, and only the activities you've invited her to. So if you have 3 boards and she sits on one board, she's only going to see that one board. There's also 2 tabs here at the top, the contact details and the list of activities. So if I want to see the activities that Emily Moore is personally involved in, I click the list of activities, and I see the work-based earning activities that she individually is involved in. Okay, so I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to go to the chat area to see what questions have come up. If there's a way for me to pop that out. Okay. Okay, so one question, who adds the employers to the list? If you're talking about the employer search area, where every educator searches for new partners, your administrators enter those names. So your school administrator, your district administrators, those are the people who have the power to enter employers in that area. For the My Partners area, every educator enters his or her own names, and you can do that by typing them in one at a time, or you can import them. And I'll actually just show you very quickly. I'll go back here just to show you how the import works. If you click the import button, like maybe you've got all your partners in an Excel spreadsheet. If you click import, there's a sample file. So if you click download sample, go ahead and open that up. It's an Excel file. And there's 3 tabs here. There's the instructions tab, there's the field definitions tab, and then there's a template. So instructions tell you how to prepare the file for import. Got all the instructions here. Field definitions tell you exactly what fields are involved, how long the fields are, whether they're required or not, and any details. And then here's the template. Here's the format that you need to enter those names in. It's a fairly simple process. If you have trouble, contact us and we'll be happy to help you get those into the system. But it shouldn't be too difficult. But again, just remember, if you're going to import names, just download that sample and you'll find all the instructions and the template and everything. Okay, another question. Let's see, where do we do student evaluations and have the partner complete and submit? We'll look at that once we get to the work-based learning activities, and we're going to be there in a few minutes. Okay, another question. How do we put contacts in under partner details? Okay, so once you create the employer, and we just looked at that, you can just click into them, scroll down, and you see where it says contacts. There's an add button. You just click add. It'll give you a new row where you just put in the name, optional job title, email address, optional phone number. And once you hit save, they're in. Of course, I didn't put anything in there, so. But there. So once I hit save, John Jones is in there as well. If we go back, there he is. Okay, okay, so no other questions. So we're going to keep moving forward. Okay, so before we get to work-based learning activities, I want to look at tags and students because you need to know how those work before we set up work-based learning activities. So we'll start by looking at tags. And again, tags are optional. You don't have to use them. It's just easier working with one group. My auto tech class of 30 students, I've got one tag and I can work with all 30 students rather than having to click 30 times to enter 30 different students. So the tags, and these are entered by your administrators. If you want them set up, you have to go to your school administrator because we want them to be consistent and have the same sort of look and format. But you can see what the different tags look like. So maybe I've got a freshman academy class. I give it a shorthand name up to 10 characters. Here's the name of the class. It's the length of the class. It could be quarters 1, 2, 3, or 4. It could be semester 1 or 2. Could be year long. Could be other. And the school year. And then you can optionally also put in your educator name as well. So you see I've got 6 different tags here. Auto Tech for the automotive technology class, Auto Tech 102, the accounting class, Intro to Careers, my freshman academy. So basically, again, these are all my classes, and I can assign students to these tags. And so we'll look at the students. But again, if you need a new tag created, go to your school administrator, whoever is sort of managing the account for your school. So we'll take a look at students. And these, again, you can add them one at a time or you can import them. Different fields, but the same process. So just click import and you can download a sample of the template. But we'll just take a look at one student here. And again, some of these fields are required, some of them are optional. So the required fields, student's name, their email address, their status. They can be active or inactive. Maybe they've gone to another school. If they've graduated, we archive them. Really, your administrators have the power to set all this up for you, so you shouldn't really have to put in a lot of student records. Your administrators can upload your entire list, which is probably the best way to do this, and offer them some sort of a password. And this is where tags come into effect. So this student is in 3 classes. They're in the careers class, they're in the entrepreneurship class, they're in the auto tech class. To add tags to a student record, you just click in, you get a drop-down menu. So I want to add them. They're also in the freshman academy class, for example, and accounting. If you want to delete tags, there's a little X in front. You just click that and they clear out. Don't worry about the previous tags field yet. This is where basically every year that a student goes, once they go up a grade, your current tags will automatically roll over to previous tags, so you'll be able to search them, but they don't show up in the current year. So that way you can get sort of a multiple year list of activities for a student. Okay, let me see if we have any questions here. Okay, let's see. One question, how can I tell which students belong to a particular teacher? Right now, I'm not able to tell. You do that through the tags because basically every educator has their own classes that they teach. We connect students by class and not by teacher because, at least in the high schools that I've been in, a student goes to see multiple teachers. And so we just set up the tags. So again, going back to the tags, you can see that Freshman Academy is taught by Martha Lee, Auto Tech is taught by Brett Pulowski. So we've got students tagged with each of these classes is how we sort of connect the students to the educators. Okay, somebody is asking a question about the advisory boards, and we will get there after we do work-based learning activities. We'll get to the advisory boards. I'm going to hold off on that question. What is the password for in the student area? The password is because we also have a student portal. So students will be able to log in, and actually I'll show you. All right, so when you sign in, you guys will sign in as educators, but you've got a place for your employers to sign in, you've got a place for students to sign in. So basically students will come here as well, and students can sign in here with their email address and that password that you gave them. So that's how students can get in and look at the work-based learning activities that you have connected them to. So that's why students have passwords. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So now that we've sort of covered students and tags, we're going to look at work-based learning activities. And this is really sort of like the heart of Seamless. Like this is why the whole system was built, so that we could track and set up and manage work-based learning activities. So you can see, as with every other list area, that we've got a list. They're all sortable. Maybe we want to sort by status, for example, multiple search criteria. We're going to create a new one so that you can see how you create a work-based learning activity. So you add the activity, click the Add Activity button, and you see a whole bunch of required fields. The reason that we require so much information here is because once we save this, you're going to send this as an invitation to your employer partner. So you want to be sure that you're giving them complete information on what the activity is, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen. That's why this is also we have so many required fields here. But so we'll just call it internship. We'll just make it an electrician internship. And so you click activity type, you've got a long drop-down menu. We've got guest speakers, we've got apprenticeships, capstones, career fairs, mentoring, co-ops, externships. We've got a long list here: project-based learning, mentoring, service learning, site visit, and so on. I'm going to call this an internship. The organization, and this is why it's so important to put employers in the My Partners area, because you cannot connect someone to a work-based learning activity unless they're already listed in your partners area. So we'll say we're going to do this with AZ Electric. because again, they're already listed in my partners, so that's why they show up here. And let's see, so we'll say that I've already talked to Casey, so I know this is going to happen. We'll just make it an active activity. Okay, now we decide the start date and time. Let's say it starts on Friday at 9 a.m. And I know that the time system is a little quirky, but it works. Okay, so, and somebody had asked previously, can we set this for a multi-date? We can in a way. So we've got the start date and time. So this Friday, October 4th. Let's say this internship goes for 2 months. And here we just say, it ends on December 6th at 9 a.m. So you've got a 2-month span here. And the scenario that somebody put in the chat area was if they're working 3 days a week, and I list out every single day that they show up. We can't do that, but what we can do is say that this is a 2-month activity, and we can put the description 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whatever. So that's probably the best way to handle that. Okay, the location. You just have to type all this in. And I don't remember their address, so we'll just make one up. Don't worry about the volunteer hours at this point. Once an activity is complete, your employer can log in and post their volunteer hours, or you can do it for them. As we scroll down, there's a bunch of optional fields. So we've got a description of the activity, the objectives. Because this one is off-site, there's a transportation field. We have tags and students. We have student details. You see that these are all optional. You don't have to put anything in here, but it's good if you can share some information, because again, all of this information is going to go to your employer as an invitation. So you want them to know the type of activity, the start date, end date, location. You also want them to be informed on what the activity is. So I'll just say it's for one of my students. And I feel okay putting student information in here for the employer to see, because it's an internship and we know that that student's going to be working directly with that employer. The system is FERPA compliant, so unless you specifically type in student information, your employer will never see identifiable student information. So we're going to just leave some of these blank for now, but description, objectives, you want the employer to know what it is you're trying to accomplish with a work-based learning activity. You want to decide who's responsible for transportation. And this is where tags and students come into play. So we're setting up a work-based learning activity, and because this is just an individual student, I can just click into students, and my whole list of students shows up. And I can put in students one at a time. If I want to delete students, there's a little X in front of their names. I can just clear them out. But this is where the tags are important. So if I click into tag, and maybe for this activity, I want my whole Freshman Academy class to participate. So I just click on Freshman Academy, and all the students in that class show up because I've connected them with this tag. If I have multiple classes, maybe the whole school is coming to a presentation. So I just add all the tags, and every student on the list shows up. And of course, I can customize this. I know that this student is going to be out that day, so I'll remove her. Let me go ahead and clear these out just to show another example. So maybe I've got this tag, and I've got a student who's going to come for the presentation even though he's not in this class. I can still click in here and add students. But so you can see, like, especially because I've only got 4 students per tag set up in this dummy system, but you can see how if I've got 30 kids in all my classes, Just clicking one tag and having all the students load in is going to be a time saver. Again, you don't have to use the tags, but it's going to be a big time saver. So for now, we know that this is just one student doing an internship, so we'll just load in that student. Once we save, so save that record, a second panel shows up, which is where we invite our partners. So basically all you do is click the invite partner field, start to type their name, they show up. If I want to send them a calendar invitation so they can put this information on their calendar, click that. You can send them a follow-up survey. Right now, it's just sort of a stock email that goes out that says 2 days after the activity, were you happy with the activity? What can we do better? And so on. This will be customizable in the future, probably in the spring. And we can send multiple documents. So I'm going to send documents as part of the invitation. If I click upload documents, I can either pull those from the general resources area, and you can post, we'll look at resources in just a minute, but you can post your own documents. So if you have documents you send to every partner, like maybe directions to the school or a standard disclaimer or waiver or something like that, you can post that to the library and it'll be right here for you. Or you can upload your own documents. And basically you just click in here and you can pull them from your desktop or wherever. So like with an internship, maybe you've got a student learning agreement customized to this particular student, this particular experience. You would want to post that document to this activity. Okay, so I've added 2 documents. If I wanted to add a link, maybe you're using Google Docs, for example, you can also add a link. But you can see that there are a couple buttons under the documents, partner and student. You get to decide who sees which documents. So maybe you want the partner to be able to see this document, but not the student, so you just click partner. You want the student to see this document, but not the partner, so you just click student. Of course, you can have them both see a particular document, or if it's only a document for you, then nobody sees it. You decide who gets to see which documents are in the system. And then you can save the record or save and send. So if you click save and send, your partner will get an invitation with all this information. The email they get, there's going to be a confirm button or a decline button, so they can let you know that they're going to participate or not. If they hit confirm or decline, you'll get an email saying Casey Stiegel has confirmed their participation in this activity. It'll also show up here in the system as confirmed or declined, whatever they choose. But so you can track which employers have committed to an activity. So let me see what questions have shown up in the chat area. And I'm sorry if I'm not as responsive as I could be. The system does not allow me to see the chat window at the same time. Okay, what if it's the same partner, but I have multiple students working for them? Do they need a document for each student? It's a hard question to answer. It depends on the type of activity. Like, for example, if it's an internship, you really, I think you could do it either way. Just based on sort of best practice in work-based learning, it's probably good to have a separate student learning agreement for every student participating. But if you want to run them all through the same system, like through the same record, you could. So it's really your choice. You can set up a separate activity for every student interning, or you can say, 5 students interning at AZ Electric and just make that a single record and upload all the documents here. There's really no practical limit to how many documents you can post or how many students you can add. I should also note that you can add multiple employers. So say that this was, I don't know, say it was a guest speaking activity and you've got 2 people coming in. You can add additional people. So you can invite multiple people, or maybe you've got multiple people at the company and you want to send them all the invitation. You can add multiple people here. If this was a group activity, so mock interviews, you've got multiple employers coming in. Here under organization, you can add multiple employers. So there's only a couple activities, I think, that allow you to do that. There's this, but also, I believe career fairs also allow you to do that. So obviously you're going to have multiple employers at a career fair. And you can add multiple people here as well. So that's basically how you create a new record. We will go into the student and employer portals shortly, just to see what that looks like from their point of view. The resources, again, these are, we have a whole suite of templates here for you. We've got, I think, close to 50 in the system. They're not all visible here, but templates for advisory boards, for internship agreements, all that sort of thing. So maybe I'm setting up a new advisory board and I need to see, I'll just search for advisory boards. Maybe I need new bylaws. I don't have my bylaws selected. Maybe I'm just looking for meeting minutes. They're all Word docs. You can just click in. And you've got a full template for advisory board minutes. And we've got templates for internships, guest speakers, job shadows, all sorts of things. I'm going to try to move along here just for the sake of time. So the last 2 things we'll look at are advisory boards and then the reports. So advisory boards, we had a question earlier about someone was not able to add advisory board members. It's just like work-based learning where you've got to have people in the partners area before you can add them to activities or advisory boards. So we'll just take a look at one of the boards here. So you can see we give the board a name, set the status, and basically to add members, you've got a whole list of everybody who is in your My Partners area. So that's where these people come from. So you just find them on the list, you add them. You got their name, their contact information. You set when their term expires. You set the type of member, which, you know, it's important for some people, not for others, but some people like to keep track of what percentage of the board is made up of employers, for example, so you can categorize people. And then you set their role on the board. They're either a board member or they have some sort of leadership role, like they're chair, treasurer, vice chair, secretary, and so on. And if you want to delete people, you just delete them. The little trash can. Okay, so to set up advisory board meetings, actually, before I get to the meetings, let me show you subcommittees, because boards can now have subcommittees or task forces. So basically, you just add a subcommittee, you give it a name, set the status, and you can also add people from your My Partners list. And just the same thing, you've got to put their term, type of member, and their role on the subcommittee. So board activity, this is where you set up all your board meetings. Go to board activity, and we'll just take a look at one that's already created so you can see what it looks like. So you give it a name, you know, your fall meeting, your spring meeting, whatever. You set the date, set the time, the type of activity. It's a board meeting, it's a subcommittee meeting, executive board, and what. Who it is you're going to invite. You can invite all your board members. Just set the executive committee, depends what you're, who you need at the meeting. Of course, you can pick and choose from your board members who you want to invite and who you don't. You can export this list to an Excel spreadsheet if you want to import it into your sign-in sheet. Starting in December, we'll actually have a fully formatted sign-in sheet that you can just produce right from here. Set the location of the board meeting. And you can upload documents. You can upload your agenda. You can upload multiple documents that you want people to see prior to the meeting. So you want them to be ready. Everybody should have read this industry article. Everybody should have read this student activity report. You save it and then you send it to your members. When the meeting is over, you can log in and upload your minutes and your sign-in sheets so all of your board documents are in one place. And so the other thing we will look at, once we start to upload board documents, all of your board documents are going to be under the Board Documents tab. So I see documents associated with a particular meeting. I can see general documents. So documents like your bylaws, for example, that are not associated. Maybe if you've got a program brochure or something, because your board members can log in and they'll be able to see all the documents here associated with the board, which is great, especially if you have a new member, you want them to go back and read past meeting minutes. All of the board documents are going to be here and your board members will be able to log in and see that. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat area. The last thing we'll look at is the reports. So if you've been putting in your work-based learning activity, you'll be able to run reports on what it is you're doing. So I can see, first of all, my educator activity report, and this is sort of your basic 101 report of all my work-based learning activity. I can sort by partner, organization, date and time, type of activity, how many students participated. If I just want to look at certain types of activities, I can do that. I just want to see my guest speaking activities. And this report you can either print or export. And I'll show you what the printed version looks like. It's pretty bare bones, but you can see it's just basically a table. If you just need it, printed or as a PDF file, it's easy to print that out. You can also export it to an Excel file, and this is true for all the reports, by the way. But if I wanted to share this out, drop it into, make it more pretty, format it in a certain way, I've got my report here in an Excel spreadsheet. If I want to look at what I've been doing with my partners, I can run the partner activity report and it'll sum up by every single person that I've worked with, everything that they've done, along with their volunteer hours. If you've been good about putting them in, if your partner's been good about putting them in, you'll be able to sum up their volunteer hours. And again, you can print or export this. You can narrow the range, date range, type of activity, or whatever. The third report is your student activity report. So I can see every activity that my students have done throughout the course of the year. If I only want to look at students in my freshman academy class, I can do that. If I only want to look at a particular student, I can do that. And so here I can see every activity that Jackie Benzing has done, when it happened, what organization she worked with, which is going to be very helpful in figuring out where she is in terms of real world experiences. Maybe she wants this to prep for an interview. She wants it for, maybe for her resume, for example. So all this information is going to be here. So you can track her full work-based learning activity history. So we'll see if we have any. Okay, I don't see any questions on the reports. So the last two things we'll show you, I'll show you what this looks like from a student's point of view when a student logs in. I'm going to log in as a student. Just want you to see what they see. Okay, so as a student, I log in and I see all the work-based learning activities that I have personally been invited to. So we'll look maybe at this internship agreement or this internship with Plum Good. So I can see all the information on the activity. I can make some comments that my educator can see. Scroll up and I can see documents that my educator wanted me to see. And I can upload documents for my educator to see. So again, the system is FERPA compliant. Documents that the student uploads cannot be seen by the employer and vice versa. The educator serves as the central point for all of those documents. They decide who gets to see what. But so if you've got an internship, for example, and you want students to log their timesheets, they can upload those to the record. Starting in December, we'll have a better system for actually having students log in their volunteer hours or work-based learning hours. So that is coming in December, but for right now, they can just upload timesheets. They can also run their own report on all their own personal work-based learning activities. And that, again, they can just log into the system the same way that you do. They just have to go to seamlesswbl.com and click login or sign in. So we'll log out. And the last thing we'll show you is just very quickly what this looks like from an employer's point of view. And again, as I said before, an employer can only see what you have invited them to see. So this employer has been invited to manage their company profile for the employer search area. They can do that there. They can manage their work-based learning activities. And again, they can only see the activities that they have been invited to. And just like the student, well, here they can accept the activity, log their volunteer hours, add comments, add it to their calendar, and see documents and manage documents here. Because they belong to an advisory board, they can see all upcoming board meetings. They can also see all documents for the board that they have been invited to. Okay, let's see. We have a couple questions here. Okay. Trying to upload my partner advisory board list, which is in Excel. Seamless only allows CSV files. I converted to CSV, but it is not allowed in Seamless. So let me log in very quickly to the educator portal and show you what to do. So you can import by CSV file, but it has to be in a very specific format. So again, if we're trying to add new partners, go to import, download the sample, and that will show you, if you download the sample, that'll show you the format that your file needs to be in. So this will give you instructions on how to set up the file. It'll tell you what the required and not required fields are, and it'll give you a template. So all your uploads need to be in this template. Let's see. Okay, can we use Excel going forward to upload documents? You can upload documents. I think there are multiple criteria, multiple formats for documents that you upload to a work-based learning activity. PDF, Word doc, Excel, JPEGs. I think there might be like PowerPoints, I think, are one another. To upload records, you've got to have them in Excel. And again, so if you see, because I saw that you sort of dropped out and dropped back into the webinar. So just to reiterate, if you go to the partner area, click import, and then click download sample, that will show you the format that your spreadsheet has to be in. So just follow the instructions, look at the field definitions, and put your records in this template. Okay, I see we've only got 3 minutes left, so if you have any other questions, please enter them in the questions area or the chat area. I will remind you that the knowledge base, if you go to the very bottom, you can download the educator guide if you don't have it already. And we have FAQs, and we're going to keep adding FAQs here. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. So Yosha, I'm going to unmute you. I don't know if you have any final notes or comments or not, but Miosha, you are unmuted. So if you have anything to say to wrap this up, the floor is yours.
Okay, I realized, guys, that it was a lot of information, but hopefully that kind of cleared up some of the information. But I will get back with you later today. If you have questions, just email me, and I can probably give you a response on your particular questions.